Okay, so it's interesting. The book that we were using does not have everything. There's another book um, that's called. Here's this book. It's called Kerem Chabad, and it it printed um, documents that were found in the archive of the government, and so from it we have like letters that were sent. So Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi was jailed twice, once in 1798 and once in 1800, and and uh, the letters that were sent to the Russian government that caused him to be jailed, with accusing him of things, were uncovered later in the let's see, they were in the archive of the Prosecutor General in St. Petersburg. And the first place that they were printed was in this book, Kerem Chabad, that we're looking at now. So, they're not in the other book, but it's interesting because you can see the government obviously got involved, right? I mean, the Jews are fighting this war, and they start going to the government, and the government starts to get involved because the government does worry about, at that time, the government did worry about a lot of things. It worried about cults. It worried about, are people doing things that are going to be against the government? Is it the government? The under the czar, they want to keep track of things. So in 1798, a letter gets sent, and that was uncovered along with these other letters in this book. There's a different book that we're looking at in the archives of the czar, and so how does it happen that it goes from a war, where the Misnagdim are upset that the Chasidim in Vilna are celebrating, and they're being accused of these different things? How does that end up putting Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi in jail? A lot of Jews, it's funny, their knowledge of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi being in jail is when they go to a Chabad celebration of Yud Tes Kislev, which celebrates when he got out of jail. I don't know if it's when he got out of jail the first time or the second time or both, but I assume it's the second time. But and so we sort of think in our minds, oh, it's anti-Semitism. That must be why he was jailed. But it wasn't really. It was really Jewish hatred against other Jews, and that got the government involved. So here's the first letter that is sent to the Prosecutor General of Tsar Paul I, and this is in 1798. Here's actually a timeline in this book. The first thing is on the 8th of May, 1798, and it's a letter by somebody named Hirsch ben David. Now that's going to be interesting because he didn't exist. It becomes very clear that this is sent to a guy named Lupkin, who's the Petur is this guy Lupkin, and he's the prosecutor general. And he gets in touch with a guy who is the head of the local government in Vilna. These are not Jewish people, and his name is Bolokov. And he says to Bolokov, who is this Hirsch ben David that I'm getting a letter from about this religious leader, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, accusing him of all these things against the government, that he's fighting, that he's trying, that he's like a secret agent, essentially, gathering Jews against the government. And so this guy Bolokov is not Jewish, looks at, he tries to find this author, Hirsch ben David, and he doesn't exist. So the question is, who wrote this? It's basically, the letter is written under an alias. And it's written in order to accuse, is it written by a Jew? Is it written by a non-Jew? We don't know. There is some evidence that it might have been written by a non-Jew, because one of the letters it's written is dated on the first day of Shavuos. Some people theorize that. Okay. This is just a great book, this book called Kerem Chabad, because it tells you who all the players are who are not Jewish. So for instance, these are our people here. Petyor Vasilakovitz Lupchin. Who is he? He's the prosecutor from, he lives from 1753 to 1827. And he's during the time of the Tsar. Yeah, this was Chabad, this book, but it found, basically uncovered these documents. I think it was a Chabad produced book. It's by a guy named, let's look in the front of it. Let's see who publishes it. Yeah, it's published by Lubavitch. So this is Tafshin Nun Beis. This is in the 90s. And it's by a guy named Yeshua Mansheim. Here in 1992. Yeah. Okay. There's a list of, this is really good. This is so the governmental head of Vilna is Bulgakov. That's his name. Is that this? I'm looking at it. This letter. I just want to go back to the list of people. Here we go. Okay, so we have Lupchin, who's the prosecutor. And then we have Bulgakov. He must be Jewish. Bulgakov. Yaakov Avinovich Bulgakov, 1743 to 1809. Shagrir Miyufach Koach Bakushta of Varsha, and he's the governor of Vilna and of Horadna, which I guess was near Vilna. So he seems like he's a Jew. His name is Yaakov Abramovich. Okay, this guy, obviously, the prosecutor's not a Jew. So that's how he's able to figure it, to try to sort of find out. Now, I don't know, is he a secular Jew? Is he a Misnagid? Is he a Chassid? I'm not sure. Okay, so this is the Hama'aser Harishon, the first time that Rabbi Shneur Zalman is jailed. And this is the first letter, 1798. It's about the group of Chasidim known as the Karliners, and their rabbi, Zalman ben Baruch. That's Rabbi Shneur Zalman Liadi. And it was found in St. Petersburg, in the archive of the I guess the Tsarist government, Misrad HaChutz, the Office of the Exterior, Foreign Relations. Okay. So here's the letter. Here's the letter in Russian. But luckily it was translated. So basically the work that this guy, Manshine, did was he translated these letters that were found in the archive of the Tsar. And this is the Hebrew translation. It's translation from Russian into Hebrew. Okay, so he says, great and beneficent sir, he's writing to the, so this is a letter from this person named Hirsch ben David, you can see it here, to the prosecutor, whatever his name was, Luchkin. The Pelach Belarusia, Beira Luzhny. So in Belarusia, in Luzhny, Tatzlo Echad Rav Zalman ben Baruch. There's a rabbi named Zalman, son of Baruch. That's Rabbi Shneur Zalman. Kusher Kesher, Holech Ba'osef Tzir Mihudim. He's made connections and he's gathered together young Jews. Parke all. This is wild stuff. They are people who throw off the yoke. In other words, I guess they're rejecting religion. Osir Shimot Bekavana. Lios Ezer Lamapecha Shabas Tzarfas. And they are organizing themselves to help the French Revolution. Now, this is a problem, right? This is now it's this has excelled the war between Chasidim and Misnagdim about what language you pray in, to accusing Rabbi Shneur Zalman of helping an enemy of Russia. And they don't do anything. They have they don't follow the laws. They're just like loafers. Malai ta'anugos. They just like pleasure. Malo ha'pe'er ba'heder. They just hang around. They're loitering. I mean, it's total lashon hara, obviously. Shotim ochlim u'mistovivim be'efes masa. They just eat and drink and hang around and live off the government. Molichim ishet reyehu sholel. Vehem gam ganavin b'loche shochat. They take bribes and they steal. Mimitim kileon rav v'cherpa gadola al kol krovehem. And they bring bad things upon their relatives. Gamyotze chalutze banai, their children. Gazlu kol kaspi. Their children have stolen all my money, says this guy Hirsch ben David. How much? 10,000 rubles. Basudar kom laoto Zalman ben Baruch Shebeluzny. What did they do with the money? They sent it to their leader, Zalman ben Baruch. Right, so he's painting them like this sort of anti-government cult. Lo ola biyadi la'alos al akvotehem shel bin banyi shar b'nei ha-belial netinas shochad v'gam yesh lahem shtadlonim ovrim umaginim chaverim tamidim b'ir St. Petersburg. And he says they have connections in St. Petersburg. Avalo magia lahem din achar el sheyigaisu osam. They don't follow the laws. They have some kind of base, and all of this I say by a vow before your whole greatness, the Kaiser, the Shikulo Hanavon. I put this before your good intelligence. And I want to, get my money back. Let's check their storehouse. I wait for your good and just response. I am your servant, your low servant, Hirsch, the son of David. Now, so this guy Lupkin, to his credit, gets in touch with what's his name? Barkov, the guy from Vilna, the head of the government in Vilna. What's his name? It's Bulgakov. And he says to him, who is this Hirsch ben David? And Bulgakov basically says he doesn't exist. See if we have that letter. Let's see if we So these are basically forged letters to cause trouble. Now, in the end, even though they decide that the letter is forged, they're still suspicious. And they take him by force. They take over Shner Zalman by force to St. Petersburg. And of course, that's how he ends up getting jailed. Let's see. Okay. There is a timeline. There's a timeline here of what happens. Here we go. So the first thing that happens is this letter that we just read from Hirsch ben David. Second thing that happens is that's Sivan. So in Elul, that's May, the 8th of May. On the 14th of August, the general Porkavor Lupkin, that's the guy, the prosecutor, Modiel Kaiser Odos Hamashana. So he lets the Kaiser know about what this letter, and he looks into it. And then on the 16th of August, Lupkin sends it to Bulgakov, who is the political leader, the political person from the government for Lithuania. On the 30th of August, Bulgakov he sends a letter back to Lufkin saying it's forged. But he recommends to the prosecutor la'atzor et Chasidei Vilna, to stop the Jews of the Chasidim of Vilna and to bring them makom shebotarach lehem l'Rabbeinu Chiras to Levet and shediskar mitzurah. So he recommends that they do something about the Chasidim anyway, because it sounds like they're dangerous. And he sends a list of 30 names of Chasidim. The 12th of September, the Kaiser writes a letter to Bulgakov to stop the Chasidim and to bring to St. Petersburg their head, to bring Rabbi Shner Zalman to there. In other words, even though they realize that it's forged, they're still wary, right? They're hearing stuff from the non-Chasidim who have been petitioning them to do something. And there's these accusations, one of which is a political accusation. And, I guess you're not always innocent until proven guilty in the Tsar's world. And then Lubchin Modia Lemoshel Belarusia, he tells the head of Belarusia that they should bring under force Rebbe Shner Zalman to St. Petersburg. And he tells Bulgakov, stop the Chasidim from doing what they're doing and bring their head to St. Petersburg. Okay, so that's sort of, this is kind of what happens. And he ends up being jailed twice, 2 years later also. So it's a process of the Jews fighting, the non-Jewish government getting involved, and then, kind of slander getting out of control and creating suspicion. That's what happens. Even though it's not true, obviously, he was not supporting the French Revolution, and nor was he organizing against the government, nor all these accusations of them, doing, just being these sort of loafers. I mean, none of that's true, but you can see how Lashon Hara, these little things, end up snowballing. Okay. We'll see some more of this. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be away starting tomorrow. I'm going to basically be away for about 2 weeks. I'm going to be back for Shabbos and stuff, but in terms of the class, we basically won't meet again until probably Tuesday the 30th. I'll send an email, but yeah, I don't think we'll meet again until either Tuesday 30th or Wednesday 31st. All right. Have a good. So I wish everybody a good couple weeks, and should be well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, Mark, thanks for your help with. Mark, thanks for your help with Ilan, with Ilan.